Welcome back to Hobby Jogger Elite, and welcome to my official 100+ mile review of none other than the ASICS Superblast, the trainer from ASICS that has been taking the running world by storm, and certainly my own training and running shoe rotation by storm since I got it in early July. I've only had this shoe for a little over a month at this point, about a month and a half, but I think this may be one of those shoes that I got to 100 miles the quickest in. I think the only other shoe that I've gotten to that point quicker in, or as quick in, is probably like the Saucony Endorphin Speed, which is a good sign if I'm already comparing this shoe to that. They're not exactly the same, but my tendency to reach for that kind of shoe that I'm absolutely in love with across all different kinds of runs, that's what I'm experiencing with this. So before I get too far ahead of myself, we're just gonna break down some of the quick features and specs of this shoe before getting to what I really want to talk about, which is how this feels out on the run, what I'm using it for, and what the experience of running in the ASICS Superblast in general has been for me so far through a little over 100 miles. So let's get into it. I have a total of 115.8 miles in this shoe so far, and it's really not wearing too incredibly much. I wouldn't say that the rubber on the bottom of this is really like the thickest, most durable rubber. It's very comparable to just like design-wise, feeling. I don't know the exact same technology if it is being used across the Novablast and this, but looks very similar to the Novablast, and that's sort of the idea behind the shoe. It's sort of a beefed up Novablast that's a little bit softer, but through over 100 miles, I really haven't experienced any sign of deterioration to the naked eye or on foot, the running experience, which is a good sign, obviously, when it comes to a running shoe. Once you have crossed that 100-mile threshold, or once you reach that 100-mile threshold, you don't want to see a ton of wear or a ton of degradation, a ton of deadening in the midsole or the outsole or the upper, frankly, when it comes to your shoe, because that is a very bad sign for durability and likely is not worth the purchase. But this being a very sought after shoe, a shoe I was anticipating a lot, hasn't disappointed me at all when it comes to that outsole durability. When it comes to the outsole, though, I would say it suffers sort of the same drawbacks that the ASICS Novablast 3 does in its lack of traction. I wouldn't say it feels like I'm on ice skates out there when it's wet or raining, but I wouldn't say that whatever formulation of rubber combined with this exposed midsole is absolutely confidence inspiring when the roads are wet. So definitely be wary of that if you are somebody who is running in more wet conditions or it rains a lot in your area, whatever your geography looks like in terms of climate and weather. This isn't like a wet weather type of shoe. So maybe stay away from it if that is sort of a frequent feature of your running. Moving from the outsole to the midsole, we have just under 46 millimeters in the heel at 45.5 millimeters down to 35.5 millimeters in the forefoot for a 10 millimeter drop. It doesn't feel like a very steep shoe, but it definitely is easy to get into a rhythm with that sort of drop. The midsole geometry in general, this is a sort of dual density midsole, which I haven't had a ton of great experience with dual density midsole running shoes in the past, but this one does it really well, where it's using that FF Turbo on the top and then a much softer foam on the bottom where this sort of blue line begins. And it is definitely a plush, soft feeling, but it is very bouncy as well. I would compare it to something in between like Zoom X and Power Run PB from Saucony. It is very much so akin to that. It is not that incredibly dense Adidas Super Shoe midsole, the Light Strike Pro. It's not that. It's definitely a little bit more airy, a little bit more bouncy and soft. You definitely feel yourself sinking down a little bit, but you're not getting bogged down in the mud with this shoe when it comes to this midsole. And like I said, even though it is exposed, it's definitely experiencing some sort of wear, but that is not influencing the ride or energy return of this shoe at over 115 miles at this point at all. And then when you move towards the upper, this is easily the most accommodating shoe I've used from ASICS. I would say I'm somewhere in the middle of the road when it comes to foot width. I don't have a narrow foot, but I don't really have a wide foot. This is plenty accommodating if you are someone who has like an average to slightly above average wide foot. This works absolutely perfectly for me. I've never felt like my feet were being crammed into this upper. In general, I've found that ASICS usually run long, but for whatever reason, the Superblast feels absolutely true to size. No worrying about having to size half a size up, half a size down. I think my men's size 9.5 here feels absolutely wonderful. And speaking of a men's size 9.5, this shoe, when it comes to weight, which is probably the most staggering, astounding thing about it, it looks absolutely massive, right? This is one of the just like generally biggest shoes I've ever worn, and it feels big when you look down on your foot and it's just sitting there. It's a big shoe. Only 8.7 ounces in a men's size 9.5, about 247 grams. And I think it is due to that very light airiness of this midsole, the very sparing, smartly placed rubber on the outsole, and this rather lightweight, breathable upper. I think it has everything that it needs in this max cushion package without really having anything that it doesn't need. So definitely big points to ASICS when it comes to all the different features of this shoe. And for being a neutral shoe, I would say it is one of the most incredibly stable ones due to just how wide a platform it is, both in the forefoot, the midfoot, and the heel. There's just a ton of landing space here when it comes to this shoe. So if you are somebody who is usually a stability shoe runner, I think this is a neutral shoe that you could pick up. I think it's perfect for neutral runners as well. I think this is the type of shoe that will suit absolutely everybody. So that's enough about the numbers, the features, the specs, all that good stuff when it comes to the shoe. What have I used this shoe for when it comes to 115 miles that I've put into it? Primarily, it has been the long run. And I've tried to limit it to the long run because otherwise I would probably be at over 200 miles at this point in this shoe. But I got other shoes I gotta give a chance to and gotta wear. This shoe can't soak up all the miles, but just because it can't in my rotation doesn't mean it can't in yours. If I was to buy only 1 or 2 shoes, this is the type of shoe that you could wear as your only one shoe for running. And if you had a 2-shoe rotation, this could certainly function very well as one of your 2 shoes in your rotation. But the long run is where this shoe absolutely shines for me. I've done everything from normal, easy, like steady long runs in this shoe at around 14 to 15 to 16 miles to 20-mile long run workouts with paces ranging from marathon effort or marathon pace down to threshold effort or threshold pace. And let me tell you, this thing feels extremely capable. At all of those, I would say it feels like you have to put a little bit more effort in when you sort of cross the threshold of like marathon effort. This shoe definitely begins to feel like I have to put a little bit more into it when I cross that. But I think if you are somebody who is training for a marathon, this is a shoe that would fit into your marathon training, your marathon shoe rotation without any sort of drawbacks or pause. You could confidently install this into so many different types of runs, types of workouts, and be very happy with what it is giving back to you. So as primarily a marathon runner or a longer distance runner, or even someone who just runs pretty high volume, where I'm running about 70 to 80 miles a week at this point, this shoe is an absolute dream. So that can pretty easily segue into the things I like the most about the ASICS Superblast. I think the number one thing is its versatility. This is one of those shoes that you could very easily pull out for your easy days, for your recovery days, or even your workouts. This is a shoe that's going to absolutely save your legs with that max cushion. You know, it is almost 36 millimeters in the forefoot, 46 millimeters in the heel. Obviously, if you're racing in the shoe, this is technically like an illegal shoe, but for normal recreational runners like myself, likely like you as well, this shoe is an amazing tool to have at your disposal when it comes to your training. And a lot of times when I think about shoes, for instance, with a long run workout, I always have to think about bringing more than one shoe, having to stop after my warm up, change shoes, that I can equip myself with a shoe that is more suitable for some of the faster paces when it comes to long run workouts. But this is a shoe that you can just wear for your entire long run workout. It feels amazing warming up in this shoe, but it is just as capable when you start to pick up the pace. Again, I think this shoe's absolute sweet spot, even though it is extremely versatile, is that sort of steady to moderate to marathon type of effort. I think it excels there due to its pretty lightweight nature for a trainer, as well as this amazing foam formulation that has an absolutely fun ride. Still, an extremely versatile shoe that I think you could use, again, everything from recovery runs to workouts. Another big like when it comes to the shoe is how accommodating it is for a wide range of runners. Obviously, if you have an extremely narrow foot, I think you could still get away with wearing a shoe like this, but it does feel like it is meant for most people. Average width feet to wide feet are going to be very happy in this very accommodating upper. Everything from people who might pronate a little bit too much or supinate to the outside, or are just normal neutral runners. You're good. This platform is perfect for absolutely everybody, whether you're heel striking, midfoot striking, forefoot striking. There's enough foam there to sort of roll you through your stride. It doesn't have like a pronounced rocker or anything, but it does have a little bit of that drop in the forefoot, which again will help you in your transitions. This just feels like a shoe, kind of playing off of that versatility. The fact that it's suitable for everybody, can just do absolutely everything. You could race in this shoe, everything from the half marathon up to the full marathon. You could literally just do anything in the shoe. And it doesn't have a plate, which is pretty crazy that it's giving that kind of energy back, and it's giving that sort of confidence inspiring feeling when it comes to a non-plated just trainer, right? My primary dislike, really my only dislike, is that this shoe comes at a great price. It is one of the most confidence inspiring, amazing trainers that I've ever tried, but you're not gonna just pick this off the street for free. This shoe at its normal retail price is at $220, which is definitely like super shoe, race shoe territory when it comes to running shoe pricing, but it's on sale most places right now for $200 flat. So $200, a lot of money for a shoe, but for something that feels like it's going to be incredibly durable, sort of check every single box in your running shoe rotation, whatever task you need your shoe to perform, this thing can do it. It packs a punch when you're going fast, saves your legs when you're trying to go slow. It could be a race day shoe for you or just a normal trainer. So many different things. It seems like it might be worth that if it's fulfilling what otherwise you might need 2 or 3 different shoes to do in a rotation. This thing is doing all of it for you. So if you think about it that way, maybe it's worth it, maybe not worth all the hesitation if you're really eager to try a shoe like this. But my primary dislike when it comes to shoes just getting more and more expensive at this point in time, that would probably be my only complaint with this shoe. Otherwise, I have nothing to complain about, and I've absolutely loved this shoe through its first 115 miles and change, and I hope to continue to love it. I will definitely give some updates on the channel when it comes to how this shoe is feeling, how it's performing beyond 115 miles, hopefully beyond 200 miles, 300 miles, 400 miles even. We will certainly see, and we will certainly continue to stack up the miles as I go through my marathon training, continue to bank more and more long runs in the ASICS Superblast. If you've tried this shoe, let me know down in the comments what you have thought of it so far. I'm curious to see what you think. Otherwise, that's all I have to say about the Superblast for now. We'll catch up next time. Peace.